Hello. It's an immense joy to have you here with us at Sacred Stories Biblic, our meeting place for hearts and minds seeking to dive into the depths of faith, spirituality, and the great questions that move life. A warm welcome to all. Today, our journey takes us to a fascinating and somewhat disconcerting frontier: artificial intelligence and its possible role in prayer. AI, which already transforms our daily lives, could it reshape our connection with the sacred? Is faith, this very human experience, ready for an encounter with the algorithm? The question guiding us is the church, the global community of the faithful, ready for AI in prayer? We're not seeking definitive answers, but rather to shed light on the topic, to explore its facets, so that together we can reflect with clarity. AI, in short, is the ability of machines to perform tasks that require human intelligence, like learning and reasoning. If it optimizes so many areas, what role would it have in spirituality? Let's consider the potential benefits. Think of accessibility AI as a bridge to the sacred for the elderly, the sick, people with disabilities, or those who are isolated. Imagine adapted readings, personalized prayer guides, or virtual assistants offering comfort and access to teachings. For those with reduced mobility, it would be a constant channel for experiencing faith. For the ill, a window of solace. For people with disabilities, a form of immersion previously difficult. And for the geographically isolated, a vital link to their tradition. Let's also consider support for devotional practice. In the midst of our busy lives, AI could offer reminders for prayer, suggest relevant readings, or help organize study plans, aiding discipline and diversifying spiritual practices. It could, for example, guide a Lectio Divina or introduce new forms of meditation. And what about deepening the study of scriptures? AI can analyze texts, identifying patterns and connections, offering new perspectives for personal study. It wouldn't replace the guidance of spiritual leaders, but it would be a complementary tool, making ancestral wisdom more accessible and contextualized, especially for new generations. Finally, AI could strengthen community and connection, facilitating the creation of virtual spaces for sharing, study, and group prayer, overcoming physical and perhaps cultural barriers, uniting people with similar spiritual interests. However, as we envision these possibilities, the crucial question arises: where does the tool end? And where does faith, in its essence, truly begin? If on one hand, technology offers aid, on the other, we face complex ethical challenges. The first is about authenticity and intention. Prayer is an intimate dialogue of the soul, marked by sincerity. Could AI, a code, genuinely replicate or facilitate this expression? If an AI generates a prayer, who is truly praying? Where lies the intention that moves faith? There's also the risk of superficiality and mechanization. Do we run the danger of turning prayer into an optimized task, losing its depth, its mystery, and the journey of growth that often includes doubts and silence? Aspects that elude the logic of algorithmic productivity. Another concern is excessive dependency. If AI becomes the primary spiritual mediator, what happens to our capacity for reflection, inner discernment, and listening to that subtle voice that guides faith? We risk atrophying our spiritual muscle, becoming passive in our quest for the transcendent. And who is behind the algorithms? This is the question of bias and programming. All AI is created by humans with their beliefs and values. What ideologies and worldviews would be embedded in these AI prayer systems? Would there be a risk of homogenizing religious thought or of subtle manipulation, directing the faithful without them realizing it? We cannot forget the privacy of soul data. Our prayers, doubts, and yearnings are extremely personal information. In a world where data is valuable, who would guarantee the confidentiality of this information, protecting it from commercial use or surveillance? Finally, the sacredness of prayer. For many, praying is a sacred act, a transcendent connection. Could the introduction of technology, no matter how advanced, desacralize this experience, making it common, technical, devoid of its inherent mystery? Given this, the role of the church, its leaders, and every believer is crucial. It's necessary to foster open dialogue, theological and pastoral discernment, and perhaps create ethical guidelines. Denying AI is not a viable option, ignoring its risks likewise. This discussion touches on sensitive points of our faith and relationship with technology, becoming richer when shared. If this topic inspires you to reflect on the course of faith in the 21st century, how about joining our growing community here at Sacred Stories Biblic? Your subscription greatly helps us continue bringing these important reflections. And speaking of sharing, I propose an interaction. Imagine you could talk to an advanced AI about your deepest spiritual doubts. What crucial question would you ask? Or conversely, what advice would you give to someone considering using an AI for prayer? Leave your question for AI or your spiritual tech advice in the comments. I'm curious to read your perspectives. Navigating this territory where ancient faith meets futuristic technology requires openness and caution, hope and discernment. The challenge is to find a balance, using technology wisely, ethically, and in service of deepening the human experience with the sacred. A fundamental perspective is to reaffirm that artificial intelligence must always be a tool, never a substitute for personal faith, the relationship with the divine, or the wisdom of traditions. Like a hammer, its value will depend on the intention and ethics of those who use it. It can assist in disseminating information or connecting people, but the spark of faith, the experience of the transcendent, reside in a domain beyond algorithms. This leads us to the urgency of discernment and digital spiritual education. Leaders and the faithful need to understand AI's implications, developing critical thinking to decide how to interact with these technologies. One must ask, who created this tool? For what purpose? Does it bring me closer to or distance me from the essence of my faith? In all discussions about AI and spirituality, the focus must remain on the human experience and the relationship with the divine. Technology will only have value if it serves to enrich and humanize our spiritual journey. If an AI tool helps someone, great, but if it hinders personal growth or obscures a sincere search, its use must be questioned. A continuous and collaborative dialogue is essential among theologians, religious leaders, ethicists, computer scientists, developers, and the faith community. Decisions about technology and spiritual life cannot be made behind closed doors. History shows that faith has always adapted to new contexts. AI is another challenge and opportunity. The question isn't if faith will survive, but how it will flourish in this new scenario, maintaining its essence of offering meaning, comfort, and hope. We've reached the end of this reflective journey. I hope this conversation about AI and prayer has been stimulating. We've seen a vast field with promises and perils, demanding wisdom. The decision of how to integrate AI into our faith practices is personal and communal, focused on what nourishes the soul and connects us with the transcendent. If you felt a deep connection with these words and believe we should continue exploring the paths of faith together, I wholeheartedly invite you to subscribe here at Sacred Stories Biblic. We want to nurture a vibrant community where these exchanges are welcome. And speaking of community, we'd love to hear your stories. Have you had any experience where technology and faith intersected meaningfully? What do you take away from this video? Please share in the comments. Your perspective is valuable. May peace, wisdom, and discernment accompany your paths. Thank you for your company, and until our next video.